The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read. Your source for news, politics, sports, and all things trending. Here's your host, Marcus Gentry.
Welcome to the Daily Read, people, and I am your host, Marcus Gentry. I had to play them clips right there because, oh my God, listen, man, Spiderman No Way Home is about to go down as one of the greatest movies of all time. I'm finna explain the title of why I said that. Now you heard it here first. You're not gonna hear this from anybody else that's talking about this movie. I'm explaining to you why this is going down as the best movie of all time, people. It's going to be right up there. There's only one or two other movies I've seen like this. One of them, I'm going to give you an example of what I mean. Okay, for those of you who listen to me on the radio. Star Wars. We all know Yoda was supposed to be a master. And if you watch Star Wars from the 80s, you used to see Yoda as a puppet sitting on top of Luke Skywalker's shoulders while he's doing push-ups, but you never saw him fight. Okay? You never saw Master Yoda fight. One of the new movies that came out, the prequels, Master Yoda walked out with a cane. He walked out with a cane, dropped the cane, picked up a lightsaber, and started fighting Dooku. He started fighting Dooku. That right there, everybody in the crowd, in the audience, jumped up and was like, "What the hell just happened?" It was unbelievable. And that's the same thing with this Spider-Man movie. This is one of the movies that's finna go down in history. And the reason why is because, not just because of the action in the movie, which makes it great. The cinematic action was cool. It was a high level because they did the good graphics. They had everything on point with that. But the reason this movie is going down in history because of all the controversy that was surrounding the other Spider-Man. Let me explain that to you so you can understand. Tobey Maguire, okay, the one we all remember because he was the one who first wore the black suit. And he was the one who got the Venom symbiote. Remember the old Tobey Maguire? They fired him for being Spider-Man because those movies stopped making good money. Okay? So they shut him down. They shut that Spider-Man down. They came back with a new kid. Okay? This was I want to say Garfield, Andy Garfield. They came back with Garfield. He fought the Lizard Man, and then his girlfriend died. He tried to catch her, and his girlfriend back hit the ground, and she died. Like I said, this is going to be some spoilers, people. It's going to be some spoilers about the movie, okay? He tried to save his girlfriend at the last minute. He caught her, but her back hit the ground, and she died in his arms. Okay, they shut his Spider-Man down because off screen, he was having anger issues, and it got out in the public. So they kind of fired him. Plus, I think he was wanting more money or something, but they fired him. So then they brought this new kid out who is attached to the Avengers. Okay, this is spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. This is why this movie is about to go down in history as the greatest Spider-Man or the greatest movie of all time. Because one of them, not the greatest movie of all time, but it's going to be one of them. Because of how they did it was so slick and so smooth. They took bad stuff that was happening off the screen and made it work. You see what I'm saying? They made it work. Basically, the story goes like this. The Spider-Man that we see in the MCU that's with the Avengers, he's a part of the main Earth. The other Spider-Man that we used to see on TV, those are Spider-Man attached to an alternate Earth. Now y'all get it. So this Spider-Man that's a part of Iron Man, the Avengers and all of this, he wanted people to forget about him because he was having problems getting in college. His girlfriend was having problems. His friend was having problems. So he wanted basically people to forget about him. So Doctor Strange did a spell on him to try to make everybody forget. But then he was thinking about it. He was like, well, I don't want this person to forget. I don't want this person to forget. So he messed up the spell. All hell breaks loose. All the villains from the other Spider-Mans jumped to his timeline. Oh my God, it was crazy. So now what they did was they made it official that all the other Spider-Mans that we used to seeing on TV are real Spider-Man, but they just a part of a different universe. It's crazy. So he goes and gets these guys to help him fight these villains. Well, he didn't go get them, but his friends went and helped. Went to round up. It was the movie was excellent, people. They took bad stuff that was going on between Sony, because let me give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man. Okay, Disney owns the rights to the Avengers. Spider-Man in the comic books is a part of the Avengers, but we're not dealing with comic books, we're dealing with movies. So what they did was Disney went to Sony and told Sony, look, we'll give you a certain percentage of the profit if you allow us to use Spider-Man. Okay, all of them other Spider-Man movies we used to see, those were Sony movies. The Avengers that got Spider-Man in it are Disney movies. Okay? This is what I mean when I say these people are some crazy geniuses. They worked out a way in this movie where, since this Spider-Man that we have that's with the Avengers is working with Disney, they worked out a way where the other Spider-Man can still keep going because they're real Spider-Man too. In other words, Sony can put out Spider-Man movies without using the actor that's in the MCU playing with the Avengers. I mean, the setup was so cold. I like how they did that because this is millions and millions of dollars involved. So if Sony comes out with a Spider-Man that has Andrew Garfield in it, or they come out with another Spider-Man that has Tobey Maguire in it as an older Spider-Man, it'll work because people can be like, oh, that's the Spider-Man from Earth 2. Okay, that's the Spider-Man from Earth 3. You see what I'm saying? I mean, it's cold how they did it, man. So, if you haven't seen, like I said, it's gonna be some spoilers, people. If you haven't seen the movies, you need to see this. If you haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, you need to pay that $10, $15, however much it costs at your movie theaters, and you need to go down there and see that, because they turned some stuff that was going on behind the scenes, dealing with the money issues, dealing with the rights to the franchise. They turned that into an actual good movie, and it works. It makes sense because people was tired of seeing, like, damn, how many times they gonna change Spider-Mans? They got this Spider-Man guy playing Spider-Man, they got this guy playing Spider-Man, but now that they got the multiverse, all of them are Spider-Man. They just a part of a different branch of Earth. They're a part of a different universe. It's crazy. And this is another way they can bring Miles Morales, which is the black Hispanic Spider-Man, into the multiverse, because he's a real Spider-Man too. You see what I'm saying? In his timeline, Peter Parker died. So Miles Morales is the Spider-Man in his Earth. You see what I'm saying? You see how they did it, where everybody can get a piece of the pie as far as being Spider-Man, because we could just say you Spider-Man from Earth 30 or Earth 20. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was good, man. I love how they made that. They got female Spider-Mans out there on the cartoon version. They got a female Spider-Man. She can be a part of Earth 4 or 5. You see what I'm saying? It was nice, man. Y'all need to, if y'all ain't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, y'all need to check that out, people. You need to check that out. Let's talk about the young man for a second. Let's talk about this young man for a second. Hold on. The one that's playing Spider-Man in the MCU, the new kid. Let's talk about him for a second. Okay. I think he's the better Spider-Man because I'm a long-time comic book fan. I'm going to have my wall back there lined up with comic books and movies and stuff like that here pretty soon, because I'm going to fix my office up. But I'm a long-time comic book fan. And Spider-Man was always a teenager. Just recently, when they inducted Miles Morales as the first colored or black Hispanic Spider-Man, they show an older Peter Parker. But in the comic books, Peter Parker was always a teenager. In the comic books, a teenager that got bit by a spider. Okay, so the new Spider-Man, this kid that they got that's involved with the MCU, he fits the perfect Spider-Man. The reason why I say that, because Tobey Maguire was always too mature for me. Even though he got a young face, when he did that dance in Spider-Man, he looked like something straight out the 80s. You know what I'm saying? He looked like a white guy straight out the 80s. So he looked it too mature to be Spider-Man, even though he had a young face. He can act now. He's good. The other kid, Andrew Garfield, the one that had played Spider-Man in the other movies, he was too, I want to say he was too dark. You know, Spider-Man was always a kid doing childish, kiddish things, but saving people at the same time. He was just, I liked it. The movies were good, but he was just, I don't know. He was just, he was like sometimes he would go too far with his rambunctiousness. You know, I liked it, his Spider-Man, but I didn't like it as good as the new guy they got playing it. Okay. Now, but the new guy, And then later on, I'm gonna tell y'all how Venom fits in all this, because you got Venom and Morpheus. Okay, you got Venom and Morpheus. Morpheus is one of Spider-Man's greatest villains. Also, he didn't make an appearance in this movie. Venom made an appearance in the movie towards the end, but I'm gonna talk about Venom later. How they gonna put Venom into the new Spider-Man with the MCU, because you know Tobey Maguire fought Venom in his movies, and they referenced it in the movie when they was asking each other when they all met what kind of villains that they fought, and Tobey Maguire said, I fought an alien. And then the new Spider-Man was like, yeah, I went into outer space. You know what I'm saying? So they trying to connect the Venoms together, but I'm gonna talk about that. I'm gonna talk about Venom later. Let me get back to this kid, the new kid. He fits the perfect Spider-Man because, like I said, he still has that youth about himself, to where I think he's almost 20 now, or he should be in his 20s or close to 20. But the kid still has a childlike mentality that fits the bill for a Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire, he was just too mature. And then the other kid, he was too dark. You know, they took him to a whole nother darkness, especially when the girl died. He looked like he was ready to do something crazy. But this new Spider-Man, he's good. I'm finna get into this first commercial break. And when we get back, we're gonna talk about Tobey Maguire, his Spider-Man, because he's gonna be a connection. This is why they did this, people. This is why they did this. He's gonna be a connection. And I'm gonna explain what I mean when I say he's gonna be a connection when I get back.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
I'm ready.
Camera's ready.
I'm ready. Welcome to Are You Scared Talent Shows. It's a new talent show that we put on TV for y'all to get used to, because these people can't act. And so we're going to show y'all what the real deal is when you get on front of the camera, and what some garbage acting look like. I tell you, garbage acting. This is Are You Scared Talent Shows, okay? I'm going to show y'all some acts of some talents. $5,000. It really ain't $5,000. I just said $5,000 because $5,000 sound like some people want to come and join a talent show if it was paying $5,000. So I'm your host, Eric Jones. Are You Scared Talent Shows?
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
All right, we're back with the Daily Read, and I am your host, Marcus Gentry. Now, like we going light today, people. We're gonna talk about something trending that's happening right now. Spider-Man: No Way Home just came out, and it is a monster. It is an epic movie, people. This is gonna be one of Marvel's greatest movies, and believe me, Marvel done had some excellent movies. Avengers: Civil War. I can't wait to what they do with the X-Men. They're supposed to be bringing the X-Men into the MCU. I can't wait to see that. That's going to be crazy. So right now, we're talking about Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Okay, he's the oldest. He's the one with the little scruffy beard. There was a part in the movie where when he walked in out of the portal, one of the other Spider-Mans, I think it was Andy Garfield, he said, do you got your suit? Or are you going to walk around looking like a Bible school teacher? Oh my God. Oh my God. I like to fell out laughing so hard because, like I said, Tobey Maguire got to be in his late 30s or early 40s. You know, he still got his youthful appearances about himself. He still could play Spider-Man as a more mature Spider-Man, but you can look at him and tell he's a grown man now. And the other two kids, they still look like kids. You know what I'm saying? So when he walks in, I'm like, oh my God. And when he said that, he was dressed casually, and the man was like, do you got your suit? He showed his suit up under his coat, up under his shirt. And he was like, man, are you going to walk around looking like a Bible school teacher? I said, oh my God. You got to see this movie, people. But see, Tobey Maguire is going to be, I think, when they bring Miles Morales to the big screen, the first black Spider-Man, I think they're going to use Tobey Maguire as a teacher to the new Spider-Man. I think that's what they're going to do. Because right now in the cartoons, Miles Morales is the Spider-Man in the cartoon that all the kids these days know. He's from universe such and such, such and such. I don't know which universe he's from exactly because I don't go into detail with that, with the cartoon side. But Miles Morales is a part of the universes, a part of the Spider-Man multiverse. So in the cartoon, because I sat down and watched it because I wanted to bring you guys how the black Spider-Man connects to all of this. Miles Morales, when he got bit by the spider, he actually ran across an older Spider-Man that got killed. And he talked to him and advised him and stuff like that. But the guy was scruffy, had a scruffy beard. He looked just like Tobey Maguire did in this movie. So I'm thinking what they're going to do is they're going to try to connect Tobey Maguire Spider-Man with the Miles Morales Spider-Man and have him be like a teacher to teach him how to do Spider-Man correctly. You feel what I'm saying? So, I mean, it was the move they did with this movie was so genius because, like I said, there was so many controversies surrounding Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man because he got too old, number one. Number two, his movies wasn't selling in the box office that much because that last Spider-Man, they was like, man, it was horrible. They didn't like it. The people didn't like it. So they shut it down and hired somebody else to play Spider-Man. Then the new kid that they hired, like I said, the new kid that they hired, he started getting in trouble off the camera. He started acting crazy, talking shit to people, you know, just being a natural asshole in public. So I think the last straw that Sony had with him was when he tried to ask for some more money to play Spider-Man. They just fired him. But they brought him back. You see what I'm saying? They brought him back. Now, Venom is attached to Tobey Maguire because he was the first one to wear the black suit, the black Venom suit. And if you guys remember in the Venom movie, not the first one, but the second one, at the end of the movie, Venom got teleported to another location. And him and the guy that he's attached to, they woke up on a bed and Venom saw Spider-Man on TV and was like, that guy. But it wasn't Tobey Maguire. It wasn't Tobey Maguire. See, they tried to make that connection that all of the symbiotes are connected across the multiverse. In other words, Venom can be a Venom in this multiverse, but he's the same thing in the others. In other words, he's connected through all of them. That's why Venom didn't disappear at the end of this movie. All of the Spider-Man that was attached to another universe went back home. All of the villains that was attached to another universe went back home, except for Venom. The reason why is because Venom is connected all across the multiverse. I'm trying to give y'all a heads up how they doing, how they playing it. Remember, Tobey Maguire is a part of Universe 2. Venom is a part of Universe, I want to say Venom is a part of Universe 2, but he also was a part of another universe, the one that you seen him in the movies. They never showed his Spider-Man in those movies, those Venom movies. So who knows who Venom Spider-Man is? We don't know, because they teleported him to this location. When the spell went crazy, Venom got teleported too. It's confusing. It's confusing, but if you a comic book fan and you a comic book movie fan and you watch these movies, you will understand exactly what I'm talking about. Venom is, his symbiote has knowledge connected to all of his people across the multiverse. So when Doctor Strange sent all the Spider-Man villains back to their timeline where they supposed to be at, Venom didn't go. He doesn't have to go because Venom is attached to all the multiverse. So that's how they're going to introduce Venom into the MCU with the new Spider-Man. Remember, he was attached to the old Spider-Man because the old Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, wore the black suit first. Like I said, I know it sounds confusing, but trust me, it works. How they set everything up, they're going to have Tobey Maguire be an older Spider-Man, a part of this universe, and he's probably going to teach Miles Morales. Then they got this new kid who's the Spider-Man in this universe who's attached to the Avengers. And Andy Garfield, I don't know what they're going to do with him because he has his own universe that he belongs to. He has his own Earth. He has his own universe. They didn't even know who the Avengers were. When the Spider-Man that is in the MCU said, I know how to do teamwork. I'm a part of the Avengers. And it was like, oh, that's cool. What is the Avengers? So the other two Spider-Man, they don't know nothing about the Avengers because in their universe, the Avengers don't even exist. You see what I'm saying? So that's how cold and that's how much of a genius move this was, because Sony and Disney have been fighting over who was going to have the rights to Spider-Man. So what they basically did was, in the movies, they saying, well, the Spider-Man you guys are working with, we're going to keep him with the Avengers. And we got these other two Spider-Man over here that we can deal with if we ever want to make a movie, a Spider-Man movie. We got these other guys because their universe is real too. So it's crazy. So if you see a Spider-Man movie come out and it doesn't have the kid in it that was attached to the Avengers, you know, he's a real Spider-Man too. You can't say, oh, they're rebooting the franchise. Nah, they're not rebooting the franchise. They're not finding somebody else to play Spider-Man. He's a real Spider-Man too. He probably is attached to a different universe, but he's a Spider-Man too. I mean, it's crazy. But if you pay attention to it, man, it makes sense. It makes sense. It's crazy as it is. It makes sense. We finna go to the Andy Garfield Spider-Man. But first, I'm going to show you some pictures of Tobey Maguire, the Spider-Man we used to know. Look up here in the corner of the screen. You'll see this is when Tobey Maguire wore Venom. Okay, now this Venom right here, his memories is attached to the Venom that we saw recently, the Venom movie that came out. His memories, because all of the Venom symbiotes are attached across the multiverse mentally. They can read each other mentally across the multiverse. So that Venom that fought Tobey Maguire and tried to attach itself to his body and take him over is the same Venom or a branch of him in the new Venom movie. So at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, he looked at the TV screen and was like, that guy, he remembered Spider-Man. He was like that guy, but he never met the new Spider-Man that's with Iron Man and the Avengers. He never met him, but he just saw the suit and was like that guy, So it's gonna they finna set something off, man. This is the reason why Marvel Comics, as far as the movies, is beating DC Comics when it comes to movies like the Justice League, because they have some real geniuses working with them as far as connecting the dots and having everything proper when it comes to a good timeline. Because there's nothing worse I hate is to watch a movie and like when you watch a Freddy movie and then you got like the Halloween movies. You had Halloween 1, Halloween 2, then you got all these other Halloweens, and most of them not even related to each other, but they got Michael Myers in it. It don't make sense. They did something with Spider-Man that actually made sense. Because even though there was 3 or 4 different people that played Spider-Man, they made it make sense. They attached to different universes. You know what I'm saying? They are Spider-Man from Universe 1, Spider-Man from Universe 2, Spider-Man from Universe 3. They made it make sense. I'm finna get into this next commercial break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about Garfield, his Spider-Man, and how he had one of the most emotional scenes in the movie. And I like how they did him. They brought him back, even though they fired him. They brought him back, and the kid actually can act. He can act pretty good, but they brought him back and gave him a redemption, a chance to play Spider-Man one more time. But at the same time, he wound up saving somebody. I'll tell you about that when we get back.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we back with the Daily Read, and I am your host, Marcus Gentry. Now, this Spider-Man right here, Andrew Garfield, he will probably never see Venom. Okay, Tobey Maguire ran across Venom in his movie and beat him. Then Venom was in his own movie and attached himself to that guy that plays I can't think of the actor's name, but we had the Venom 2, Venom 1, and Venom 2, right? At the end of Venom 2, him and his symbiote got teleported. And the reason they got teleported was because of Spider-Man No Way Home. Now it makes sense. You see, when I watched the end of Venom, I was like, how did he get teleported like that? I didn't understand it until I watched Spider-Man No Way Home. You see, that spell that Doctor Strange cast on the Spider-Man kid to get everybody to forget about him, it went crazy. And everybody who knew Spider-Man that was his enemies started coming to this earth that he was at. But it also brought all of the Spider-Mans to this earth. But they was in different locations. So now, like I said, Venom never met the Garfield character. He's the middle Spider-Man, the one that they fired because he was acting strange and asking for more money and stuff like that. He'll probably never meet Venom. But Tobey Maguire ran across Venom first. He beat him, blew him up. Then Venom attached himself in the movies to this new kid got teleported. All the enemies of Spider-Man got teleported to this location. And they was talking about it in the movie when Tobey Maguire said, yeah, I ran across this crazy alien that tried to attach itself to me. I said, wow, he's talking about Venom. And then the other Spider-Man was like, man, that's amazing. I went out into space and fought some aliens. And then Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was like, I've never done none of that, but I did fight a guy with a lot of arms. He talking about Doc Ock. I think not Doc Ock. He was talking about one of his enemies. I think the lizard guy or something. But it was crazy how they did it to where they connecting the old and the new. So what I'm thinking they're gonna do is they're gonna use Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, Spider-Man as a trainer for the new Miles Morales Spider-Man because he's an older Spider-Man. Sony is probably gonna use Andy Garfield in some movies as his own Spider-Man, and then Disney is going to use this new kid. They're going to keep using him as the current Spider-Man because he has his own universe. I'm almost 100% certain that's how they're going to do this because, like I said, you got a new Spider-Man in the cartoons, which is Miles Morales, and in the cartoons he runs across the original Peter Parker, who's older, has a beard, and unfortunately that Peter Parker gets killed and Miles Morales takes his place as Spider-Man. Put that to the side. That's why I say I think they're going to use Tobey Maguire, since he's older, as that Spider-Man. Then Sony has the rights to Spider-Man. They want to put out their own Spider-Man movies, but they don't want to use this guy that's messing around with Disney and the MCU. He's a part of the Avengers. They want to keep him a part of the Avengers. But at the same time, they can bring Andy Garfield back in his own universe, his own little pocket, and create more Spider-Man movies with him. So it's cold, man, how they do it, how they did it, man. And now Morpheus. See, I'm thinking since all the Spider-Man villains was coming in, that Morpheus takes place after all of this. Because Morpheus didn't show up neither. Venom showed up, but he never came to the fight. He didn't come out to fight. They showed Venom at the end of the movie. Morpheus, I think Morpheus didn't turn into Morpheus until after the events that happened, because he's going to be one of Spider-Man's villains too. The guy that plays Morpheus, he's going to be one of Spider-Man villains. The vampire, and the Sinister Six is supposed to be the Vulture, Morpheus, the Venom, Morpheus. It's six of them. Six of his main villains, and some of his villains already done got teleported back to their own timeline, their own universe. But Spider-Man has more villains than I think any other comic book character out there. So they got a wide range of people that they can throw at Spider-Man that he done already fought in the comic books. That's gonna make some interesting movies. But yeah, I'm gonna show y'all some more clips of this, because the redemption part that came in. First of all, I'm gonna show you Garfield. This is the Andy Garfield. This is the kid that got fired. If you look up in the corner of the screen, this is the kid that got fired. He was the second Spider-Man. You know, he started acting all strange and erratic and talking crazy to people, and he wanted to get more money. So they fired him. But they brought him back in this movie. And how they did it, people, I'm finna demonstrate to you how he had the best part the best redemption part in the whole movie, because his girlfriend Gwen Stacy, when the hobgoblin blew the clock tower up and she fell, he jumped down there and tried to save her, and he shot his web out there. It caught her shirt, but as soon as he tried to pick her up, her back hit the ground and it broke her back and she died. Everybody remember that. That was one of the darkest moments I've ever seen in Spider-Man. That was dark, but everybody was talking about that. But they brought a situation back in this movie to where the new kid's girlfriend, Mary Jane, the little girl that be in the movies with him and his best friend, she fell. So he tries to jump down there and save her, just like Andy Garfield's character tried to save his girlfriend, but the goblin came down and knocked him out the way. So that's when Andy Garfield Spider-Man saw what was happening, and he was like, man, I can't let this happen twice. He jumps down there and saves dude's girlfriend. I'm going to show y'all the clip. It's amazing. I'm telling you, I'm going to show y'all side by side clips so y'all can really see how much of a sad situation. But it was a touching moment, man. I'm talking about, you can see the similarities in what happened. Check this out. As you can see, people, I'm gonna tell you, I took the sound out because I didn't wanna get a copyright strike. You know, they do give out copyright strikes, people. They give them out, and I didn't want to get, because sometimes the sound can make them give you a copyright strike if the algorithm picks up certain music and things like that. That's why most of these scenes you see are quiet. So bear with me. But I'm telling you, people, the movie's excellent. Not only is it genius and excellent how the movie was, how it was done, but it's also genius how they mix and matched all of the Spider-Mans together and made it make sense. They made it make sense. So when you go back and watch the old Spider-Man movies on DVD, you can say in your mind, that's a real Spider-Man. They didn't just change actors just to be assholes, or they didn't just change actors because they didn't like this guy no more. He was actually a real Spider-Man in a different universe. Then when you see the other Spider-Man movies, you can be like, okay, he's a real Spider-Man in his universe. You know what I'm saying? They brought all of them together, and it was cold. It was cold. I'm finna show y'all one more. I'm finna get out of here, but I'm finna show y'all one more clip. I love this part when they all got together, and I think Andy Garfield was like, "I love you, man." It was funny. Here, let me see if I can find it. I'm gonna show y'all this clip. Let me give y'all this clip real quick.
I love you guys. Thank you. All right, let's do this.
Scene right there, man, that's epic. That scene right there with all three of them together fighting them bad guys, man, the villains, that was epic, people. It wasn't, I'm talking about, you can hear the reaction of I had to record the reaction because I wanted to show you how the crowd was just on their feet, man. It was certain parts of that movie, man, where the crowd was on their feet. Like when Tobey Maguire came back as Spider-Man, the older version, everybody in the audience that was in their 30s and 40s, not the kids, because they really don't really know. They know about the new Spider-Man. They, like, if you're a teenager, like 14, 15, 16, you probably done seen some of those old Spider-Man movies, but you really don't know who Tobey Maguire is. Because I think he played Spider-Man like 20 years ago, about 15 years ago. You know, it's been a while since he played Spider-Man, you know. And when the middle-aged people, especially the middle-aged females that love Tobey Maguire, when he came out of that portal, everybody went nuts. They didn't go crazy for Garfield, the second Spider-Man. He was cool. When he showed up, it was a few people clapped. But when Tobey Maguire showed up, they loved him. They loved that version of Spider-Man. He came out that portal, man. Everybody stood up in the audience and started clapping. It was crazy. The only time I've ever seen that was when, like I said, that's why this movie is epic. Because there was 2 times that I saw this happen. Anakin Skywalker had the pod racing. When he was flying through pod racing, people enjoyed that because they actually got a chance to see why Luke Skywalker was so good because of Anakin. The second time that I saw people stand up and give a clap like that was when Yoda walked out. I'm sitting in the audience looking around like, what the hell? Is that Yoda? Yoda walked out with a cane and was like, Dookum, I come to put an end to you, Dookum. And when he dropped his cane, he grabbed his lightsaber and started flipping in the air, fighting this guy. The crowd went nuts. I've never seen nothing like that. The crowd went crazy because we've never seen Master Yoda in Star Wars ever fight anybody. They always call him Master Yoda, but he looks so small, like he can't really do nothing. But Yoda's cold. And when that's what I'm saying about this movie. That's what makes this movie so epic, is how they manipulated all of the controversy that was behind the other Spider-Man, brought them back into it. Then they turned around and gave an opportunity for Sony and Disney to have their own Spider-Man. Now you get what I'm saying? They got 3 different Spider-Mans. They got 4. They got 4 different Spider-Man. They got Miles Morales, which is the new kid on the block. He's the black Spider-Man. They got, everybody's talking about the black Spider-Man. He's just in the cartoons right now. Okay? Then you got Tobey Maguire, which is the older Spider-Man. He the one that came in with the beard. Then you got the middle Spider-Man, who's attached to Sony. Then you got this new kid who's attached to Disney. He's with the Avengers. So everybody has a piece of the pie, to the point where if Sony wanted to come out with some more Spider-Man movies, all they gotta do is call up Andy Garfield and be like, man, we need you to play Spider-Man. We finna put together a Spider-Man movie, but it has nothing to do with the Avengers, because your Spider-Man is in a whole different universe. So we finna do some movies with you. And then the Spider-Man that we all been seeing with Captain America and Iron Man and all of that, that's Disney. They can still make movies with him. And then Tobey Maguire, he can take his old Spider-Man, because Miles Morales ran across an older version of Spider-Man, and they had a talk right before he got killed. And he was trying to teach Miles Morales how to be a proper Spider-Man. And then when he got killed, that's when Miles Morales took over and became Spider-Man. So I'm telling you, man, this some epic stuff here, man. These people making millions of dollars off of this stuff, and I like how they manipulating it. I like how they moving, and this is business. This is like big business. I love it. I'm finna get out of here, man. This is the Daily Read, and I want to keep it light today. You know, we've done a whole lot of politics and drama with this Trump character, and I wanted to have lighten up the mood and do something trending. And right now, Spider-Man No Way Home is trending, people. So I hope you guys learned something from today, man, about big business especially, because they got it. Whoever these people are that's running Sony and running Disney, they're about their business, people. They're about their business. This is Marcus Gentry on the Daily Read, and I'm out.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
Business.